Hi, welcome everybody. Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about Old English or Anglo-Saxon heroic culture and the warrior ethos that describes that heroic culture and what it stands for. You know from the PowerPoints that you've just listened to or watched that Anglo-Saxon culture was full of battle and violence. There was a lot of war. So there's a lot of poetry then written about that, and that genre is called heroic poetry. Battle of Malden is an example of that. Judith contains parts of that. Beowulf participates in that tradition. And they all feature the concept of the warrior ethos, which is a way of describing two things: the relationship, honor bound between a lord and his warriors, which I'll describe more about in just a minute, and also a general valorization of battle, of militarization, of physical strength, of battle prowess, of conquering foes, and a way of describing one's commitment to one's tribe and one's kin, right?
Ethan Beowulf!
Who's that? What's that? Who's there?
Ethan Beowulf!
Oh, Beowulf. Well, I'm really not surprised to see you, honestly, since I'm about to talk about the Old English warrior ethos. So did you want to tell the students a little bit about the warrior ethos in your own experience?
Ethan Beowulf!
Don't be shy.
Ethan Beowulf.
Yes, definitely. An individual's reputation was tied closely to their name and their kinship ties. Who was your father? Who was your grandfather? Who are your uncles? All of those things matter. Notice I'm mentioning the men. They seem to be the most important in Old English culture. So Old English culture was tribal then, with kin and tribe being more important structures than anything else. There wasn't a concept of nationalism yet or of nation. Every tribe was in it for themselves, so to speak.
Ethan Beowulf!
Yes, right, I know. Yes, Beowulf, you were the king or kerning. Each tribe had a king or kerning or a lord, hlaford. And the lord or the king had a responsibility to provide for his troop of warriors, which were called thanes. Thane. Thagan in Anglo-Saxon. The thanes were like a small private army for the king or the lord, and they were called, by the Romans, that was described as a comitatus. The Anglo-Saxons maybe would have called it a hera. So they got their room and board. The thanes got their room and board from the king, along with gold and treasure, and perhaps the most important of the three, reputation. So that's Clispa.
Ethan Beowulf!
Okay, that's true. Old English warrior culture demanded that you make retribution for any injuries against you. It was eye for an eye. But this idea where if somebody kills someone in your group or gang, you have to go back and kill someone in theirs. So that whole eye for an eye thing, that's definitely embodied in Germanic culture and in Old English culture specifically. That comes down to us straight from that Germanic, heroic, tribal culture.
Ethan Beowulf!
Oh, calm down. Yes, Beowulf, I'm getting to that part. Relax.
Ethan Beowulf!
Sheesh. Okay, because this honor debt system means that there's a never-ending battle or war. It's going to be a constant back and forth. I kill someone from your tribe, then you kill somebody from mine, then I kill somebody from yours. Like, when does it end, right?
Ethan Beowulf!
So eventually Old English kings and lords worked out a system of payment to repay wrongs in order to restore honor instead of having to actually exact it from their body in fighting. So if you wronged someone, you could pay a fine or fee, or your family could pay a fine or fee instead of somebody having to fight you. So this was called wehrgeld, or the man price, also sometimes called the manbot. This is the price that you pay to injure someone.
Ethan Beowulf!
Or rather, the price that you pay to restore the honor of that group of people after you've injured them. So different socioeconomic positions demanded different amounts of payment. The more higher up in society were, the more you were worth, so to speak. And they even had distinctions about how strong you were as a man. If you had the strength of 2 men in your hands, you had a certain amount of money. If you had the strength of 6 men in your hands, you had to pay another amount of money. If somebody with a strength of 12 men in their hands, if you injure them, you had to pay more money. And if you injure, for example, the finger that helps your bow finger, that costs more than injuring your pinky. If you commit sexual assault against a woman, it costs you more money if she's a virgin. It costs you more money if she's an aristocrat. It costs you less money if she's a slave. So yes, the Anglo-Saxons did have slaves. I posted for you some of the laws of the Anglo-Saxons, and specifically if you're interested and you want to take a look at that link, look at the laws of Alfred. If you want to see some of the information about what one had to pay depending on what one did, what crime one committed.
You can be wolf.
No, I don't think that's a good idea.
You can be wolf.
No, I don't care what Unfair said. I'm not bringing it up.
You can be wolf.
They're going to read Beowulf themselves, so they'll hear the whole story then.
You can be wolf, Beowulf, Beowulf.
I said no. So arrogant. I'm not doing it. You can wave your little sayax at me all you want. Just forget it. Forget it.
You can be wolf.
They'll have to read about it on their own.
You can be wolf.
If you will excuse me, Mr. Big Shot Warrior Guy, I'm trying to lecture here.
Got it,
Beowulf. Betis tu. Betis tu. Betis tu. Okay. The Lord maintained a hall in which to house his comitatus, or his posse, or his crew, his warriors. And that we call that a mead hall, or a meadu ern, because it's where the alcoholic beverage made of honey, called mead, or medu in Anglo-Saxon, was served. So everyone would go to the mead hall, which is a giant hall that the warriors would also sleep in. And the Lord provided entertainment for the people by bringing in a poet or a shope to sing heroic songs and entertain everybody with stories. If reputation is one of the most important things in the society, then the person who helps create and maintain that reputation by telling those stories, they are an especially important person. Because how are you going to develop that reputation with nobody to tell your stories? So Old English shopes memorized thousands, hundreds of thousands probably, of lines of poetry. And a lot of Old English poetics is grounded in the reality that these were orally delivered performances in front of a crowd in a very dramatic fashion. So you're going to see a lot of speeches, things like that, because if you're performing something in front of a crowd and there's a speech, then you get to perform it, right? So the poems Battle of Malden and Judith, as I mentioned, address the warrior, the battle side of life. The next set of poems that we read, the poems The Wanderer and The Wife's Lament, they address the parts of life that happen outside of battle, so like the non-battle side of things. All right, that's it for right now. We'll be learning more about Old English poetics, specifically when we get ready for the first recitation in Old English. Yay!
You can be wolf.